In today's lesson, we're going to be looking at the insertion sort technique. So we're going to be using arrays, so we need to import java.util.arrays. Insertion sort works by constantly sorting the front of the array. So at first, it compares index 0 to index 1. If index 1 is less, it swaps them. So after that, that means index 0 and 1 are now sorted. You then move on to the next index, sorting them in a relationship to each other. So you would add index 2. So you get index 0, 1, 2 sorted. Then you add the next index, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you keep going up, but the front of the array is always staying sorted in relationship to each other. So let's look at this array here. 6, 5, 1, 10, 4, 9. So it's going to, in the first pass, the first two elements are sorted, 5 and 6. It then adds the next element, so it adds the 1. So 1, 5, 6. Adds the next element, 1, 5, 6, 10. Adds the next element, 1, 4, 5, 6, 10. Adds the last element, and all of them are sorted. So we're going to print out the unsorted array, call this insertion sort method, and then we'll print out how many comparisons and swaps it takes. Now, the insertion sort method returns an array. That array contains the number of comparisons and swaps it takes. Then we're going to use the insertion sort show swap method, which will show all the swaps. So let's look at the insertion sort method. So it receives an array parameter. It's got a couple of variables here, j, key I. J represents the number of items sorted so far. Key is the item to be inserted. All right, so we traverse our array going from 1 to the length, and I set key equal to the element at index j. I increase the number of comparisons here, so I'm now going to do a for loop here, which is going to do some comparisons. It's going to go from j minus 1, and it's going to run while I is greater than or equal to 0, and I, array of I, is less than key in I++. So if I is equal to j of minus 1, it's counted 1 too many times, and so we decrease the number of comparisons by 1. Otherwise, we can do comparisons up by 1 and the swaps by 1. And I shift everything over. So it shifts everything over into its correct place until it finds the place where it needs to put the key. So looking at our, going back to the top, let's look at our examples here. So I was looking at 4. So if I need to insert that 4, so 4 becomes the key. And it shifts over to the 10, shifts over the 6, shifts over the 5, and it puts the 4 in its place. That's what this whole for loop is doing. It's doing all these shifts, finding the correct place to input the key, and then it inputs the key. And then it returns our array of comparisons and swaps. And it will then print that out. Now let's look at our method that prints out the swaps as they're occurring. So it's going to do all the same sort of stuff going on, but every single time the key is inserted, it prints out the array showing the swap. So let's see this run through. So unsorted, sorted, you can see our number of comparisons and swaps. Depending upon how sorted the array already is, will impact the number of comparisons. But the number of swaps will always stay the same. So if it's more sorted, less comparisons. Less sorted, more comparisons. All right. So you can now see, here's our unsorted array. Look, 5, 6, 1, 5, 6, 1, 5, 6, 10, 1, 4, 5, 6, 10, 1, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. So you can see the front of the array is constantly staying sorted. Now, we can uncomment one particular line of code here. Here I've commented this out, so you can actually now see each individual swap occurring as it's shifting over, and then I'll print out the next iteration. So let's compare that now. Let's see, it's a little bit different, so it's going to have more prints in here. So you can see, look, 6, 6, because the key was taken out, and then the key's put back in. The key's taken out, and you can see it shifting over. Keys put back in. So you can see it shifting over. The 6 shifts over. The 5 shifts over. Nothing happened there. So now we got to put in the 4. So the 10 shifts over, 6 shifts over, the 5 shifts over, the 4's put back in. 10 shifts over, the 9's put back in. And that is how the insertion sort technique works. And that is the end of this lesson.